I'm James the Ginger Ninja Cleary.
I'm Adam.
I'm Henry the Swagner.
And I'm Zachariah, Zach Attack Swope. And this is... So we have a special guest with us here today.
It's me. Hi, I'm James Cleary, and I'm more or less Zach's roommate, but I'm also somewhat of a geek by some standards.
Yeah. So we have somebody else that joined our mists.
We have friends.
Tweet our mists.
In our mists. In our
Dude,
mists.
I love that game.
In our mists.
Midst?
Midst, yeah. Yeah, I can't, yeah.
Sierra Mist, brought to you by GeekTalk.
Yeah, so this week's pick of the week, and our final one for this season finale till next January.
Heavy breathing.
Yeah. We decided to end with our favorite comic book villain
of all time.
All right, so let's see. Let's have James go first since he's our guest.
All right. Well, I don't.
In 2 minutes. 2 minutes.
I don't read comics as much as I would like to, but just for image, I would say Doctor Doom. You guys are laughing at me already, but I mean, like, he's just got like this, just intimidating, powerful presence, and he's really just a human. He's just really smart, and he's got the whole magic thing, which helps a lot. So he's got both sides covered there. But I mean, like, Darth Vader was based off of this guy. That's how much presence he has in this universe.
Cool. Adam.
Me?
Yeah.
Red Hood. No contest for me. I mean, this is a guy who, in terms of the Batman universe, causes Batman to sort of face the consequences of his own actions of not killing Joker. He has to really, for the first time, seriously question whether killing is right or wrong. And he really, during that whole arc, he starts to really question if what he does is right. You know, having a Robin in the first place, is it morally right to do that? And the Red Hood makes him question that. And I think he's just awesome.
Yeah. I think my favorite comic book villain was instilled to me at a young age. I think my favorite comic book villain is Magneto from X-Men. Because Magneto, first of all, has a pretty damn cool power, which is the ability to bend metals magnetically, even if they're not magnetic metals, which I always found pretty funny. But beyond that, he's got a really solid backstory. You know, Magneto's got one of the best, major villain backstories of any Marvel main villain. And also, there's something about Magneto that always made me like sympathize with him, especially in the films. Like, despite him wanting to like kill off the human race, there's that little bit of you that kind of like, maybe he's kind of right. Mutants are the next evolution of humans. Maybe that's just the natural order of things. It's a really bold statement, and one that I think is always pertinent in comics and movies. So that's why Magneto has always been my favorite.
See, this is a very tough question for me. I have a bunch of favorite villains. I mean, the Joker, I love the Phantasm from when I was little. It was one of my favorite villains, even though it turned out to be a lover of Batman. But personally, but personally, if I really, really have to think about it, I'm split. And I'm not saying Green Goblin, I'm saying Norman Osborn. Norman Osborn, not Green Goblin. Norman Osborn, the thing is with him is he's a businessman. That he's able to cause Spider-Man so much trouble. And if you think about it, Oscorp is pretty much behind almost a lot of the villains in some form or another. So Norman Osborn's kind of the one that gives the technology to Dr. Octopus to make the arms. He's the one that gives the technology to make the vulture wings. It's that, I think, makes a really good villain. He's not really there as a villain per se. He's the one that's he's a manipulator.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think that's. I mean, he's kind of like the gentleman if you're thinking about it. But then again, there's another villain I really, really like, and has to be. Crap! I forget the name all of a sudden. I know. This is awful. All right, so let's just say Norman Osborn. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
I want to make a point. I think Henry's choice was not to put down anybody else's choices.
Oh yeah.
I thought Henry's choice was really good too. I would have to say after you talked about that, it really reminded me of the story of Magneto, the fact that he survived the Holocaust. The fact, I mean, he's such a compelling character that he lived through a Holocaust, and he feels like he sees that over the horizon again.
Yeah.
Which, weirdly enough, and ironically enough, leads him to almost being, in a way, a mutant Hitler in some ways. I mean, really, he wants genocide to prevent genocide, what he feels like might be genocide.
Uh-huh.
I actually gave a speech on the link between mainstream comic books once and the relationship to the civil rights movement. And the X-Men was a huge one because the X-Men, the mutants, are kind of this oppressed minority. And Professor Xavier and Magneto, although it wasn't intentional, can be seen for
Martin
pretty much
Luther and
perfect
Malcolm
allegories
X.
for Martin
Yeah.
Luther King and Malcolm X.
That's cool. I really like
It's
that.
like when you think about it, you like neither one of them is exactly wrong or exactly evil. They're just different approaches.
Yeah, definitely.
You mentioned the civil rights movement in Magneto. I don't know if any of you have seen this, but you know how they were connecting for the new X-Men movie. They're connecting Magneto to the assassination of JFK.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think knowing Magneto's character, I think that he's like the explanation to the magic bullet. And I think you know what? I actually think knowing how Magneto's character is, I think it would work very well, depending how it's well done.
My guess is it's just going to be kind of
and
like
that's
kind of something thrown in, like in Watchmen, how he killed JFK, and it was like in the beginning sequence.
Well, he'll probably kill JFK. Yeah, he'll kill JFK. But the thing is, with that, he's in prison in Days of Future Past, and you see him breaking out. And the reason he's in prison is probably because
that would make sense. Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know. I liked Adam's choice. I don't know. I just
Oh, thank you.
yeah. I know. And I mean, don't get me wrong. All of you guys have good choices.
I feel like I didn't explain mine well enough. just kind of like a last
Go
minute
ahead.
thing.
Go ahead.
If you'd like to, more. Yeah.
Oh. Well, I don't know. I feel like Doctor Doom, like his ego is also a big part of it. And it's not only that he thinks he's godlike, he actually thinks he's more than godlike. I think at one point he took over the universe and he gave it up because he's like, well, it was beneath me.
What's cool about Doctor Doom is his origin is also like really neat with the comparison to the Fantastic Four, that he was just, you know, the other guy on the space mission.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, also, I played Lego Marvel, and I think I love Doctor Doom's character in Lego Marvel. He's like, his ultimate weapon. He's like, I just created the Doctor Doom Ray of Doom. I was like,
and I have to say that reminds me. One of the coolest things about Doctor Doom is he can be taken really seriously, but at the same time, I like how he kind of has the old comic booky feel to him of that. I mean, his name's Doctor Doom. I mean, I think that's kind of cool. It's like it's harkening back to the old days of comics.
I dare you to think of a more cliche villain than me.
exactly. I mean, he's like I think even though the movie itself wasn't great, I think they did well with.
Did well.
I think they did pretty well. I think they did pretty well with Doctor Doom. Like, not too great, but I think they kind of nailed his character a little bit.
Yeah.
That whole comic-y.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the first movie, not the second movie. Don't get me started with the second movie, but the first movie, I think they nailed his character pretty well. Mm-hmm. But I'm curious to see what they'll do with the reboot because they're rebooting it.
We'll
get into this later, but yeah. But you know, and if I also think about Red Hood. If it weren't for the Red Hood, we wouldn't even have the Joker.
Yeah.
I mean, because the gangsters hid the Joker as the Red Hood, and that's how he fell in the vat of chemicals because he was wearing the Red Hood.
Well, not even that. I mean, the Red Hood, the Robin Red Hood.
Oh yeah.
The one that used to be Robin died and came back.
The original Red Hood was lame. That's why it became the Joker. No, I knew.
Well, I mean, he wasn't the Joker. I mean, the Joker wasn't the Red Hood. The Killing Joke. I mean, these gangsters. He was supposed to break into his job to get these something. And
however, though, we don't really know if that's true.
True,
Because remember
but-
at the end of the comic, he says, "But that's just one of the many stories I kind of tell myself."
But
So you
I
don't
think
know if it's true.
the thing with I don't want to get into a huge discussion because of time, but I think the question with that though is that I think it's become widely accepted though. I mean Arkham Origins they had that level where it's practically you're the Joker in the Joker's mind and you're practically replaying the Killing Joke a little bit.
See, but I like the idea of Joker having this sort of like Dark Knight. He makes up his origin stories as he goes. He doesn't even remember probably why he did what he did.
Because we did. I know we wanted to mention this before, but can you tell us your theory on who the Joker really was? You sent this. I thought. It was great.
It's been thrown on the internet a lot. The Joker in the Dark Knight version, there's a theory that he was actually a soldier, in Iraq, which is interesting, especially because of the social commentary of the Dark Knight. And also, I think when you rewatch The Dark Knight, if you watch that scene where he's talking about, his sort of idealism of chaos.
Yeah.
And I think that he really shows a bit of himself when he says, a truckload of soldiers will blow up and nobody bats an eyelash. And because it's all according to plan. And it makes a lot of sense, I think, to look at that and say, maybe that was him revealing a bit of his own story, and maybe that's why he became the way he did. He saw no point after that. That if I can be blown up in some sort of attack, why is that okay? And then why is anything else then I do?
That's deep, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Deep.
Well, let's talk of villains. Brings us into our next discussion because of Amazing Spider-Man 2. Because I say villains because there's like 3 villains in this, plus possibly more, maybe more.
No.
Can we start off with what James showed me this morning? Can you mention it?
All right. Well, I was watching the trailer again for like the 50th time because, unlike some people, I'm actually pumped for this movie.
Just so you know, me and James are pumped for this movie. Adam and Henry
The
Spider-Man.
amazingly bad Spider-Man.
Yeah. Okay. Continue.
Well, I noticed one scene that was very brief, but somewhere in Oscorp, presumably, you just see these 6 doors, and they're labeled like 1 through 6, just slowly opening. So I thought, oh, Sinister Six. That's cool.
I mean, you even see in the trailer Doc Ock's arms and Vulture wings, and then they said that was actually part of the big credit scene. But the which is surprising because they're showing the reveal, but they said that's not even the biggest reveal. They're going to show the Venom symbiote. The guy, he's walking towards a room with the Venom symbiote, not Eddie Brock, but the symbiote. So
The suit.
and I'm thinking Oscorp created the suit. I think, but
I liked it better when it was from outer space.
Yeah, I do too.
And the jazz number.
Well, I like the whole.
No, that's the comic book canon that it's from outer space.
Well,
I
I
know.
like the whole Ultimate Universe. I don't know if you guys have read any of those, but it's a whole different take. And the story behind the symbiote in the Ultimate Universe was Parker's dad and Brock's dad worked together on the suit as a cure for cancer.
Oh yeah.
And then they met, and stuff happens, etc., etc. Brock becomes Venom.
And I think I like the outer space idea, but really it comes really close. It's almost even. I do like the cure for cancer idea because I think it ties everything together. Maybe that's what they're going to do.
I think that's what they're going to do because they also did it in that video game on the PS2.
Yeah,
which was one of my favorite Spider-Man games.
Is that the one with the
it's the Ultimate Spider-Man video. It's based on the comics, actually.
That
It
one
actually
was
bridges
fun
the
just
gap.
because you could play as Venom.
Yeah.
I thought I wasn't thinking of like the time traveling one.
No, God.
Oh God, no!
And that sequel, I mean,
I love the trailer, though I am a little skeptic. Don't get me wrong, I'm still a little skeptic. I mean, Harry Osborn. It's obvious he's going to be the Green Goblin in this one.
Yeah, he's on the poster.
Yeah, I mean, it's obvious in the poster if you enhance it. You even see him in the trailer. You can tell it's him. It's not Chris Cooper.
Is Paul Giamatti still the Rhino? Because
That's the only part that I'm kind of
Transformer.
excited for. I think that'll be kind of Paul Giamatti.
Paul Giamatti's a great actor, but I don't see how he's gonna I don't see how they're gonna do that.
The Rhino was never a good villain.
The Rhino was never a good villain, and I don't know, from like the bits and pieces I saw from the trailer, he looks more like Raiden from Metal Gear Solid. I'm like he has a weird haircut. You don't see his face.
He has no haircut. He's bald, and he has a tattoo of a chain link on his face, on his forehead.
Yeah,
whatever.
He's a Russian mobster in this. He's a mobster in this movie, and I guess the suit comes in somehow.
Maybe I'm confusing that with the Green Goblin stuff.
I don't know, but
Regardless, I just think the idea of having all these villains so quickly is going to be bad. I mean, look at the last time that they had more than one main villain.
Yeah,
And
but
it looks like-
I feel like when they did that, it was just because the script was rushed and they just threw all these guys together. This one, they're planning out, and it's all working together in the form of the Sinister Six and Oscorp, and it's all kind of coming together.
But it's
in a
just,
way.
there's something to be said. I mean, if you have one villain in a film, you have that villain to kind of like get to know and get to develop. When you have too many villains, it's going to split up the screen time in a bad way. And I mean, they tried to do that in Spider-Man 3. They tried to have it tie in at the end, but it just came into, you have three not really important villains that come onto the end of the film, and that depreciates the film.
And I think it also creates way too many subplots. I mean, in any movie, you see that a lot. You see way, way, way too many subplots when there are too many villains. And I'd much rather, and I think it's a lot more of quantity over quality. I mean, I'll even accept two villains. I mean, I love the way the Dark Knight did it, where they introduced the second one like halfway through near the end. But I think that I think it's creating too complex of a story to tell in at max 2.5 hours.
Yeah, I mean, just look at the trailer. They don't really give you, like, Jamie Foxx just shows up near the end of it, and he's like most trailers for superhero movies are like, it's all about the villain. It's like, hey, this is happening, but you know, there's just nothing in that in this trailer. It's focusing more on like this idea with Oscorp and stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't like that at all.
I want to say that I know Rhino, he's only going to be in like a very small role. Like, I know, like, he's only going to be, like, I think in the beginning of the movie. I think he's going to be, like, towards the beginning of the movie where he's fighting the mobster, this guy, Paul Giamatti, who's, like, a mobster of some sort, and he gets in a mech suit, and he fights him, and he gets arrested, and then he'll be back. I mean, it's more of, like a one-off kind of thing where, like, he will be fighting a villain, defeat him, not kill him, move on. And I think that's what they're going to do a lot with this one. I mean, obviously they're setting up with Sinister Six, so they're not going to kill off Electro. They're going to keep him on for the next movie until they do the Sinister Six, and then they're hinting at. I mean, the Green Goblin. I think more or less. I think he's going to survive the movie. I think he's probably just going to be. I think he's going to kind of instigate Electro, and I think he's. I kind of picture he's going to be the one that actually causes Electro to become Electro. That's how I think. I think I can picture it early on that, from what I've seen and heard, that Electro will be a good guy early on. Like, he's just, but people were scared of him just because he's different. And Green Goblin uses that to his advantage and uses him to his own purpose.
Must be Spider-Man's fault.
Yes, that's why he's like, because he blames Spider-Man. Green Goblin tries to put the blame on Spider-Man for him.
It's funny you mention that because I also saw pictures of part of the movie, and one of them was Spider-Man like confronting Jamie Foxx's character before he was Electro, Maxwell Dillon, I believe his name was. So apparently, I guess that sets up for some of the reasons why he loathes Spider-Man. And
yeah, I mean, he loves him. It's obvious, like he adored him, and then eventually, for some reason unknown, that he hates him. One last thing, and we have to move on.
Can I run through just like 3 points?
Yes.
First, I have a huge issue with villains because people are afraid of them. They become evil. I'm sorry. You're a giant dude who looks blue and shoots electricity everywhere. How would someone not be afraid of you? Like, it'd be different if you, like, looked a little different. But, I mean,
just gotta give them hugs.
You just gotta understand that, like, people are different. You don't have to... I think that's kind of a bullcrap reason to become a villain or write.
I mean, it's probably going to be more than that.
And the only way I could see this movie ever redeeming itself, kill Gwen.
Agreed.
Well, have not just have like some. I mean, have it the way the comic was, where Spider-Man shoots his web down at her to save her in the bridge, and it snaps her neck, and she dies. So he kills her. That would be the only way that I would be like, okay, this movie's like.
They've been hinting at that though.
Yeah, but the thing is, Mary Jane.
They cut her out.
Yeah, they cut her out, so that's probably not going to happen. They'll probably save that for the third movie.
And my final thing is, would they just make a Spider-Man noir? You know
Oh
what
my
I'm
god,
talking
yes. Oh my god, yes.
That's all I want. Let's just do an original idea here and just do a Spider-Man noir instead of just redoing Spider-Man again. Let's do something that's cool and different and darker and just.
We're going to get in this conversation in a little bit about creative ideas, but we have to move on. And this talk about comic book and our split discussion. It's Man of Steel 2, but it's starting to slowly sound like Justice League.
Should we tear into this first, or would you like to explain the news?
Okay, let me explain the news because I don't think I want people to know what we're talking about here. For one, slowly all this casting news and news rumors of the story are coming out and it's starting to starting to look like it's going to be a Justice League movie, not a Man of Steel movie. I mean, Batman, great. But then they're saying Wonder Woman, and she was just casted. And then Lex Luthor, there's some ideas about who's going to play him. And then for villains, they're saying Doomsday, Metallo. They're just names being thrown around. And then there's also the possibility of the Flash making an appearance, either a cameo or whatever. So it's slowly starting to sound like a Justice League movie. And some of the casting choices... I want to start with this, all right? Some of the casting choices for Lex Luthor. Idris Elba, which I'm all for. And then there's Denzel Washington.
Which I predicted earlier.
Yeah, which I like too. I think Denzel.
Yeah. And then this British actor from TV show Arrow, and he was in Resident Evil, the first one. He played Zero, or whatever his name was. That black. Yeah. And then Bryan Cranston and Mark Strong. But the front runner is Denzel Washington. So, any thoughts on this?
Henry, would you like to tear into this first, or should I?
Well, I mean, as far as Denzel playing Lex Luthor, I thought that's a pretty cool casting decision. I like that. I had mentioned earlier in the semester that would have been my pick. As for this film overall, it just feels like they're just piling stuff on it. It's just like, I don't even know at this point what this movie is going to be, other than just a gargantuan like monster of a whole bunch of stuff. And see, the problem that puts this, like, if this is a Justice League movie and this is how it's going to be, is there's no foundation for it, like we had for the Avengers, and this is going to be big. I feel like they're just releasing stuff to make sensational news, but then at the end of the day, I'm thinking to myself, they're making a movie out of all this like crap, and that's frightening, to be honest.
I mean, I think, pardon my French, but I think it's just gonna be a clusterfuck. I mean, it'd be cool if they just had Lex Luthor and Bruce Wayne, and you had that dynamic, and with Superman, and maybe you threw Doomsday in like halfway in, and Lex Luthor sort of took a background role. And I'm not a big fan of Lex, but fine. And I mean, I think that the great part, and Henry will disagree. I think the great part about Man of Steel 1 was it was deeper on some philosophical levels, and I liked that. But I think I liked the fact that the story structure was simpler. That it was, he went to point A to point B, and because of that, point C happened, and it just kind of kept going. Like, everything was tied together in a neat way, I felt like. And I think they're going to lose that. I mean, we were talking earlier about too many villains, and it's about quantity over quality. I agree with Henry. I think it's throwing stuff at the screen to please fans. I think that he saw the big reaction that Batman and Superman got, and now he's just throwing more stuff at the screen to get more dollars in, honestly.
Yeah, here's something I want to say. I think there's something to be said about the fact that they're releasing all this stuff. Like, where are the surprises going to be in this film? Like, what if you went to go see a Batman and Superman film, that's what it's billed as, and then it turns to a Justice League film?
Right.
Like, how much of a better movie-going experience would that be if they were just, spoiling everything that's going to happen in the movie beforehand, using this kind of like sensationalist media? And also, going off of that, I think really one of the biggest complaints I had against Man of Steel was the idea that I just didn't really feel any kind of connection to Superman's character. And adding all this stuff to this new movie isn't going to change that. I'm not even the idea of opposed of a sequel to Man of Steel. I think that could, like add to the character, but adding all this stuff in it is just going to make everything worse. It's just we're not going to get what I want, which is kind of a more like developed Superman character.
Sort of an enriching
because there's just going to be stuff in the way of that.
Right.
I'm sorry. I need to get James in here.
Yeah, I haven't talked it all yet.
Yeah,
but I agree with you guys where I think that they're throwing stuff in, and it'll kind of be like the whole Spider-Man 3 syndrome, where you just have guys that are thrown in there that have utterly little importance, and then the whole thing kind of suffers from that, which is a shame because a lot of people would pay good money to see just Batman beat the shit out of Superman. Like I would pay to see that, but then you throw all this other stuff in, and you get the feeling like, well, maybe it's more complicated than that. And, maybe it won't be that awesome.
I could picture. Here's how I picture Man of Steel 2 turning out to be. I picture that Doomsday will be the villain. Lex Luthor is in it more of just as a capacity that he's a rival to Bruce Wayne, not like as a villain per se. And then they'll have Wonder Woman in there, which, if Doomsday's the villain, would make perfect sense. And then we would have, there'll probably be cameos from other characters, but not like full on, like they won't be a full character. Like maybe Barry Allen making a cameo, not as the Flash, but that's a rumor being thrown around right now that Barry Allen's going to be in the movie. But they don't know if it's the Flash or not. And I think he's going to be, we might even see him as a Flash maybe in the credits. Who knows? Maybe they'll do something like that. But I don't think they'll need Metallo. I don't think Metallo is such a great villain if they're going to have all these other characters in them. I think they should just stick with one villain, which I think they will. And if they're going to stick with one villain, they're going to probably stick with Doomsday if Doomsday's in the movie. And then Lex Luthor will just be in the capacity of Bruce, like him and Bruce Wayne are rivals, which would make obvious sense. Adam?
One last thing I want to say is, first off, I fully support the decision to make Superman kill Zod.
Yes.
I think that's a fantastic character development for him. I think that's a fantastic way for him to deal with
Not killing
what
him.
he's done and to learn some sense of responsibility. He was basically thrust into this situation. He had just figured out who he was and what he could do. And then you're thrust into, okay, now you have to fight against like one of the greatest warriors in the world, in the galaxy. So, here's my issue. Here's what I'm getting to. With making this movie with all these different people, it bothers me then that I guarantee you that it's either never going to be talked about or it's going to be relegated to like 15 minutes at the beginning or middle or end of Superman dealing with the fact that he killed the last of his race. And that he killed, period. And I think it's just going to be wrapped up like, shouldn't do that. I wanted an entire movie of this, and having the Batman aspect of him being the guy who took an oath never to kill, dealing with that, with Superman having done that too, and even kind of Batman learning not to be jaded from Superman, and Superman learning to be a little more responsible from Batman. And I think that could have been a cool dynamic in that, but I think it's going to be ruined now.
Another thing I've heard, and this has been thrown around a lot recently, is that the movie, when Man of Steel 2, Superman will be haunted by Zod, like his death. Like Michael Shannon apparently might return just to do like some dream sequences, like he's dreaming. And Russell Crowe's definitely coming back apparently. So like maybe like he'll hit a picture of his father like, you killed our, his father just would be ashamed of him.
Well, I think the problem with his father being ashamed of him is he basically told him to go out and stop
Zod, but I don't think his father expected him to kill.
But his father killed when he shot those Kryptonians on Krypton. So I don't think that's what he's going to do. But I think the dream sequence is a cop out. I want to see Superman.
It'll be seen throughout the movie.
But I think
he's going to be dealing with. I see it that he's dealing with this, and all of a sudden he realizes he's not the only one out there. So like Wonder Woman comes in the picture, and he finds out that he's not the only one with these like superpowers. And then Batman comes in, and Batman knows that I mean, he's finding out that he's not alone as
Superpowers
well.
don't mean shit.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, for Batman.
needs superpowers.
But I mean, they don't really know much, and I think I can picture like at the end of the movie, we'll see them all come together to an agreement that they'll form a Justice League or some sort of like understanding, and then they'll segue into a Justice League movie.
I just
you have to let me die.
Because they said Justice League will follow Man of Steel 2 is what they're saying.
I think that then you should make it a separate movie. I liked Batman and Superman coming together. I liked the idea of Doomsday being there. I was meh about Lex, but I could see how it could play against Wayne, and that'd be cool. But when you're bringing in 5 different freaking villains and then throwing in on top of that Wonder Woman,
she's hot though.
I don't care. I'm sorry, not a lot of people give a crap.
Check your male privilege for a second. The first thing you say when Wonder Woman is cast is, "Oh, she's hot."
Miss Israel 2004.
I don't care. I don't like Wonder Woman.
She has the actress that was casted does have the expertise, and she fought in the Israeli army.
Well, every Israeli fights in the Israeli.
Well, yeah, but still, she fought in the army for 2 years, and then she.
You don't see them casting a Palestinian. That's my point.
Yeah. No, I think that I don't care if she's hot. I don't care. I don't even think she's hot, but I don't care if she's hot. And I don't think that. I don't think Wonder Woman's that important to a story. I think that it would have been more interesting to see the really fleshed out in the comics dynamic between Batman and Superman, and then move forward with
my roommate said it best. Wonder Woman is perpetually stuck in the Silver Age of comics.
I agree with that.
And that's why it's never going to work.
Yeah.
I think, because I don't want to get in this debate because we need to move on to our next topic, but I just want to say that with Doomsday in the picture, Wonder Woman, if Doomsday is in the picture, then Wonder Woman would make perfect sense because Wonder Woman is the one that actually helps defeat Doomsday.
But she doesn't have to.
She doesn't have to, but I think
Batman has.
But I mean, it would be a nice way to introduce her. I mean, what if she just comes out of nowhere and it helps Superman, and at the end, it's like a little quick introduction.
I still don't care. I just think it ruins the dynamic.
And if they're going to do a Justice League movie, they need to introduce her in a way that
give her own movie.
Yeah, I want Wonder Woman to have her own movie because let's be honest here, like female superheroes have not made any kind of.
True.
There's none.
Yeah.
I mean, they played up Black Widow in Avengers, but that was bullshit, first of all, and she's not even, like, a main character in the Marvel Universe. So that's stupid.
All right, this next topic I'm just gonna move on to our next topic. The video game comic book industry. Well, this kind of goes with our next 2 topics. I just want to segue into this. Like we've discussed, that they're not coming out with really great ideas. Like it's nothing original anymore. I mean, Adam, you had something to say. I know you're the one that came up with.
That's just a little untrue. There's original stuff coming out. It's just the mainstream has been bloated and destroyed by remakes and adaptation.
Right, and sequels.
Yeah,
and I think that and prequels.
Yes,
I think they're
the worst.
I want something. I think they can mishmash. I mean, like Pacific Rim, for example. It's not completely original. I'm not going to say it's completely original. But they mishmashed things together in a way that was original. And it presented a new product. Mm-hmm. And I want to see another Star Wars for our generation. Yeah. I want to see new fantasy stuff for our generation. And I like adaptations from books, but I really want to see something original and new. And I kind of want to start seeing new directors coming out of the woodwork, new writers, Neil
Blomkamp. I mean, he just came out now. He's like becoming mainstream. But before, when he came out with District 9, I think we need people like that.
Yeah,
he came out with after his second movie Elysium, he's now becoming big, and now he's going to be making another sci-fi movie. But I don't mean to interrupt. I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. I just wanted to.
James, thoughts?
I really did enjoy Pacific Rim. Like, it was a movie that should not have been as original as it felt. Because there's been a bunch of giant monster and giant robot movies, but you don't see them come together as much. And the way he told the story, especially with the way he put it, it was the world against these monsters, not just America or not just Japan.
Yeah.
It was the world against this otherworldly invasion. And I felt that made for a great original movie. But I could totally agree. Like, there are just too many movies that are just ripped or just like sequels just to make money.
Yeah.
And although in the comic book, as far as comic book movies though, that's a difficult one because you're going out to new territory is kind of daring because especially when you already have all these stories that are written for you that are just like fantastic. Like Days of Future Past was a really good one. You know, they're taking that from there.
And they're
but
changing Wolverine.
Then there's like the Amazing
Kitty
Spider-Man where they're merging the Amazing Spider-Man universe and the Ultimate Universe, which is why I think it's ironic they still call it Amazing Spider-Man.
Yeah.
It's like it's not. So
And they merge the lighter tone of Batman, like the Adam West, with the Frank Miller Batman in the Dark Knight. I think that in the first movie, I think they kind of mixed a little.
how is Adam West in there?
Yeah.
I would say
what?
they had they have some humor in Nolan's trilogy.
Well,
I think that lightheartedness.
Yeah, but that's not Adam West.
There's
I
That's
mean,
just-
no
you gotta have some
lightheartedness.
comedic.
Well,
The
I
Batman
meant like
Begins.
I'm not talking about like the cheesiness. I'm just talking about like a little light toned.
I think. Well, I think.
They throw in some of that.
But I think when you look,
it's just that's really the closest comparison I can
I
think
think
of.
when
right
you
now.
look at the comics, though, I think that the comics. I think it was a good represents the three Batman movies in the Dark Knight trilogy. To me, we're kind of getting off topic, but they were different representations of different types of Batman that we've seen throughout the comics. You have the extremely dark, brooding one that faces, sort of low level, the
Post 9/11.
disgusting part of Gotham, sort of like the Dark Knight Returns aspect in Batman Begins. You have the sort of Long Halloween working with cops, a little bit lighter but still pretty dark feel in Dark Knight. And then you have things like the Aftershock comic book series of him dealing with a massive citywide crisis of a complete breakdown of
like
society.
Arkham City or Arkham Origins.
That's like the.
I will say though, West Batman is best Batman.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing, guys. If you just look at the movies that have come out, there are plenty of studies that have done this, plenty of charts and graphs that I could point to if I knew them off the top of my head. But movies that came out 20 years ago, the top blockbusters, the majority of them, maybe 80% of them, were original ideas, first drafts, or at least adaptations that had not been done before. Where today, it's completely reversed.
Yeah.
Maybe only 20% of things that are coming out that make a profit
even
now.
Making movies off of books that are like out of original books, like the Hunger Games series, is a pretty good original series, and I feel like they're doing a really good job making series out. Now,
Oh,
I
I
haven't
agree.
seen the new movie.
I have, yeah.
And I haven't read the books, but
I have also.
but from what I've heard about them, it's a solid series, and they're doing a great job with it.
Yeah. The only thing the only problem I have with that is the Hunger Games has kind of created this kind of like niche genre, which I hate.
I think Harry Potter is the one that created that.
Yeah,
niche
I
genre.
agree with that.
I
But-
think his Harry Potter.
But
came first.
recently, I think that it's just kind of like exploded, and I think it is only really the bottleneck point. I think has been the Hunger Games, because you did have Harry Potter and you had kind of like a couple failed attempts, but I definitely think like just when I saw the Hunger Games, the new film, they were advertising some other young adult novel, and
Divergent.
yeah, exactly, and they did. Ender's Game was. Although the book itself is not really that much of a young adult book, it was a young adult movie. So I think the Hunger Games has kind of like opened up this like schism of like niche marketing, and that's not good.
I think you're wrong. I don't think it was Harry Potter. Twilight.
Well, no, actually,
think-
hold on. You say Twilight, but Twilight was started out as Harry Potter fan fiction.
It was actually.
I think that still doesn't count because it's fan fiction.
Also, the fan fiction was the book.
I think
I don't care.
but I think
Yeah, you do. You
I
love
think-
Twilight.
I think
Twilight.
Do you know Zach is wearing a Twilight shirt right now?
Shut-
audience?
Yes.
No, I'm not. I'm wearing a
beautiful.
blue T-shirt.
I love Bella.
With Edward's
Will you marry
eyes.
me with with Edward's
Are you
eyes?
Team Jacob or Team Edward?
Oh,
Hey,
he-
look
he
who's
has-
talking. You're wearing a Team Jacob T-shirt.
I know. I wear a Team Van Helsing T-shirt.
Oh,
He has the entire
Vampires don't glitter.
Team Lugosi over here.
But I think that I personally disagree. I think to me, Harry Potter was done really well, actually, and I think it was an idea that, of course, came from a book, but it was fairly original.
Yeah.
I think that Twilight is what started and it wasn't. And the thing with Harry Potter books too is it started off as a kids thing, and it's a kids movie, and it moved
Yeah.
to be an adult movie. It grew up with you.
Uh-huh.
I think the thing with Twilight was that was the teenage girl, whatever the heck is this niche. What did you call it?
Niche marketing.
Niche.
Yeah.
Well, I know that, but I mean didn't you give it a title?
I don't remember.
I don't
No,
know.
he
Teeny bopper novels, basically.
Good enough.
I think the Twilight series and making a movie out of that. When they saw the movie they got out of that, that's when they started doing that stuff.
I just want to say one thing though. Without Harry Potter, we probably wouldn't have Twilight. Without Hunger Games or any of these other, I mean, maybe we would, but it would be completely different than what it is today. But I think Harry Potter is the reason. Don't get me wrong, Harry Potter is so great, and I think I don't think these ones that are like the ones that have come out since, I think they're just like rip-offs. Because the thing is, Harry Potter is the one that started a new generation. And I think, and especially with Hollywood, ever since Harry Potter, they've been trying to find that right, trying to find the new thing. I mean, Hunger Games, great. They tried the Mortal Instruments, and then even Percy Jackson they tried.
Oh God! Don't even get me started on Percy Jackson.
Okay, let's hear your thoughts on that.
Dreams destroyed.
Okay, James wants to speak.
Okay, well, I'm not going to talk about Percy Jackson because, I almost cried.
It was an awesome movie.
I literally almost cried during that movie because my dreams were shattered.
Percy Jackson was great.
Anyway, so the actual point I want to make was that aside from just making new sequels and coming up with book adaptations, I feel like there also has to be a need for more original standalone movies, not movies that have sequels. And I would have said Pacific Rim, but I also hear they're thinking of a sequel for that.
There is a sequel coming.
Yeah. So, but Inception was fantastic.
Yeah. I was going to actually really say, original. Where's the Inception of the last 2 years?
It doesn't need a sequel. Just leave it alone.
They tried to get a sequel off the ground.
No. You can't put a sequel, especially after that last scene.
I know, right?
But I mean, I don't know if I can even think of any more movies like that.
Yeah. District 9, I think District 9.
Oh yeah.
District 9 is an amazing movie on its own. Henry?
Well, here's the problem with this. I think the movie market has caught up and figured out how to make money. Is the problem that we found here, and that's what it's all about. I mean, the movie business has always been about making money. I mean, I'm not going to be jaded about that. However, I do think that the market needs to realize, the idea that you see, you run that marker, and I lost my train of thought.
Sorry.
So now I'm gonna talk longer. Thanks, dude.
That's fine.
Okay, let me start over again. The market has found where it's gonna make money, and it's just gonna repeat and repeat and repeat and repeat as long as people go to see remakes, prequels, sequels, and blatant adaptations, and that's really unfortunate. And I don't really even. The problem is even as someone who despises that with a vehement hatred, I don't see it going away anytime soon because at the end of the day, even if a sequel does badly and is critically panned, they're still going to make another one. It's just this unfortunate trend that we've fallen into, and that's kind of sad.
I want to mention because our next half of the last parts of our show are about video games. The same thing can be said about video game market. I mean, video game, Call of Duty is pushed out every year. And it's finally slowing down. I was glad people are starting to see. They try to make it sound like they were doing well in sales, but then I looked at what they said. We sold $1 billion into retail. I said, retail. There's the word. There's that word, retail, and it's just going downhill. And I think the same could be said about certain franchises. Unfortunately, Halo's still around. I'm surprised it's kept up. Listen, its multiplayer is great.
I think that real quick, sir.
No,
I think that there's a difference for me with Halo, and I did get through the backlash point. But I think after seeing so many realistic shooters, it's kind of cool to go back to, at least for me, my childhood and jump 80 feet in the air while shooting at somebody, throwing sticky grenades at them. It's just fun. I mean, I like that. I like that bit of let's just have fun again, guys.
Yeah.
Come on, and that's. I do like that Halo's.
Oh, don't get me wrong. I like that kind of stuff. That's why I'm excited for Destiny.
But there has been, I feel recently, there's been a surge in indie games coming out.
Yeah, we've talked about that quite a lot.
we're gonna get into it just a little bit later.
Speaking about indie game developers,
Yay!
Paradox Interactive is a great. I don't know if you could even put it under the indie genre, but it certainly is a small PC market. They do a number of strategy games. This year they released Europa Universalis, which is a great game. They've done Hearts of Iron. They've done Mountain Blade. They're a great Swedish development company. However, I recently got Adam into a game they developed, I think 2 years ago, maybe a year and a half, and they're still what makes Paradox so good is they're still coming out with DLC and expansion packs for it, and that's Crusader Kings 2. So would you like to talk about Crusader Kings 2 for just a little bit, Adam?
I can't stop playing it. I had to actually uninstall it from my Steam so that I could work on presentations I had to do this week.
Yeah. Crusader Kings 2 allows the player to basically play anyone in medieval Europe with one of the expansions, the year 852 to 1452. Awesome. So it's a huge game, and you can play dukes, counts, kings, work your way up.
How much is this game?
$40.
It's it'll be on sale though. It's always on sale. Okay. And the team is very dedicated to making new content.
Yeah.
You can play, and you can just do anything because you're actually playing as someone in this world. You can assassinate, have children, build your kingdom.
You can assassinate your children.
Exactly. You literally can. The plots to overthrow your ruler. It's kind of like, I was really into Medieval 2 Total War for a while, and I always thought, I just want to have like a civil war with like a brother, like a real medieval history thing, and that's basically what you're doing all the time in Crusader Kings. So I really encourage you to look up that game. It's really beautiful, and the company that makes it is just, they consistently just keep this up, and dedicated team for 2 years. Yeah. If you want to add any more things.
I mean, just a very quick story for me as an example of how awesome this game is. I started on Ireland. You can get DLC to create your own character and customize them too, which is really cool. I made my own house. It's sort of my people. Started off with my character in Ireland, built up my kingdom, took all of Ireland. And as soon as my main character died, because I had split up the country in little lands between my children and grandchildren, there was this huge fight for the throne. And it eventually came down where other countries got involved, took down my entire family down to one 4-year-old son who owned a town. I spent the rest of the game taking down everybody who went against me, who pulled down my entire kingdom. I got my kingdom, I got all of Ireland and then all of England and Scotland. And I assassinated, I diluted bloodlines by marrying into them, and their kingdom became mine. I took control of the papacy. I got my pope into power.
I've got to get this game.
It's really cool.
It's really cool. It's also very complicated.
It's a huge learning curve. You will lose your first 3 or 4 games.
Yeah, but once you get the hang of it, it's just awesome. It's awesome.
And at the very least, if you get it, count on spending $50 or so, because get the 2 customization DLC, because it makes it a lot more fun.
There's a ton of DLC that allows you to play as different religions. There's face packs. There's music. They've really gone
music. The music is incredible.
Yeah.
It's so good.
So definitely check out that game if you're interested in some good hardcore strategy. My roommate put it best when he first recommended the game to me on a Steam sale: medieval crystal meth.
It is.
So let's move on.
Yeah.
This brings us to
more crystal meth that's medieval.
Yeah, technically, you can't say it. Game of Thrones.
Yep.
Telltale Games.
Oh, dude, that killed me.
Yes. Game of Thrones is crack for me on TV, and then it came.
Everything's crack right now. I love crack.
But
my mom's listening.
The news,
I want to tell her that I smoke crack every day.
But the news that they're possibly doing a Game of Thrones game, Telltale.
They're not possible.
I mean, it's not confirmed, but the fact that we might find out something tomorrow night at the VGAs, or the newly titled VGX. I don't understand that. But, anyways, I think they did great with Back to the Future. They did great with Jurassic Park. They did great with.
They did phenomenally well on the Walking Dead game.
Yes, and the new
Wolf Among Us is insanely good. The new mechanics are amazing. Get it.
Yeah, and then what was that also? The release date for The Walking Dead Season 2?
December 17th is when they release the first
2
episode.
more weeks!
Yay!
Yeah. But
part of me wants to wait 2 years until it's on sale for $4.
Each episode's $4, $5.
Yeah.
Anyways, I think I'm curious to see what they'll do with the Game of Thrones. Are we going to play an outside character or a character?
I think you will. Yeah.
Or like a character that we've seen but don't know much of.
How often will your character die?
Will we be involved with the death of Joffrey?
Will we constantly see his penis everywhere?
Will we try to be banging? Will we try to bang the Khaleesi? try to bang Khaleesi?
I don't think that'll happen.
I know. I'm just, or we play Jaime Lannister, and
I think they'll probably pull out an outside character. That's kind of like their shtick.
I can picture us doing like a soldier of like one of the. What if we actually get to choose what side we fight for, and choose a different, and then we do a story based off of that.
That would be
so, like, if we chose
cool.
the Lannisters, or if we chose the Starks, or whatever.
The only bad thing about doing this Game of Thrones or Song of Fire and Ice,
Ice
and Fire, fuck me, adaptation is, unlike the Walking Dead game, it's not as open-ended with, like, the macro story.
Yeah.
Like, because the macro story is pretty, like, written out, which characters die, when this happens, so you're, like, unless we're going to do some serious kind of, like, story changing, that's kind of a bummer. Because, I mean, Walking Dead is basically like you're put into this world. You could go anywhere, you could do anything. But, Game of Thrones, A Song of Fire of Ice and Fire, that's very, very heavily mythos and scripted. So it's going to be interesting how that plays into it. And I'm very, very excited for it because they did a Game of Thrones game before and it was balls. So, very looking forward to this. One of my favorite game companies right now, and yeah, go, let's do this.
I'm very excited. James, do you have any comments?
No, I don't watch Game of Thrones.
Oh my god!
I've seen the first season, but beyond that, like I've just never had access to it.
Yeah, it gets really good
it's hard. It's hard to access. You got to know somebody.
Yeah.
I had the first 2 seasons on Blu-ray. I'm planning on getting the third one.
Maybe when I have time, I'll get around to it.
I mean they're good.
I only got interested in the last 2 episodes of the first season.
That's how it was in the first 2 seasons.
Yeah.
Like the first season.
I got the rest.
It's you have to be patient with the first season. Mm-hmm. But I think then this brings into I don't know.
I mean, I think just something to kind of lighten the mood. Look up, everyone out there. Just look up the news about the guy who bought a Xbox One. Henry just fell over in his seat.
I'm just trying to lighten the mood.
just
did it in slow motion.
Just to lighten the mood of this very jaded show today. There's a guy who bought an Xbox One off of eBay, and he got it. So we thought he got it in the mail, and it turns out it was just a printed out. It wasn't even color. It was a printed out black and white picture of an Xbox One.
He bought it for his son too, and it's like, well, son, I got you a picture of what you wanted.
And the person that sold it says, "Thanks for your purchase," written on the back.
See, the joke about this is, despite it being a printout piece of paper, it still played games better than the Xbox.
A related story, I actually had a friend from high school who, on eBay, sold an air guitar by taking a picture of a guitar stand with the caption, "Stand not included." $20.
Did you send him an empty box? I mean, how did that work?
But no, I think personally, this guy, he wanted his money back. But the thing is, I don't think he should have gotten his money back. Here's the thing.
No,
this guy, he's made poor life choices. I'm not judging him because he's 19 and he has a 5-year-old son. I'm not judging him for that.
But you are judging him for that because you just mentioned it.
No. Let me finish. I think the fact that he didn't read the ad, it actually clearly states that they're buying a photo of the Xbox One on the ad. It says it's very clear.
But by setting the price so high, you really don't think...
It doesn't matter.
No, it does matter.
Because the people buy stupid shit off eBay. An air guitar, $20 for nothing.
Can we talk for a moment about how much of a dick this guy was for actually selling a picture?
Don't get me wrong.
That he printed out.
Don't get me wrong. It is a dick move.
I think you're thinking about this wrong. A struggling single father realizes that the only thing that will make his crippled son happy is a new Xbox, but no matter where he goes, they're sold out until a shining light at the end of the tunnel of the internet. $700 eBay.
No, it wasn't even $700. Yeah, it was $700. Right.
When you do the conversion,
it's 450 pounds.
Because it's more than that. It's like close to 1,000 in the UK if you bought it.
But the thing is that I think that you're wrong. I think that just on, I'm not saying by policy wise, even though it should be a policy, but I'm saying just by the guy who sent it, he should have just said, all right, I played my prank. I was kind of a dick. here's your money back. It's for a kid too. It's not like it was an adult that bought it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. He should get his money back. He should. I don't care about
his track record of making decisions. I think that's
But
where...
you just said you weren't judging him
That's
on his
where I
decisions,
judge.
and now you're judging him on his decisions.
No, I don't judge him. No, I'm not judging him for having a son. I'm judging
You said it.
I'm judging him for his decisions.
Which are?
That he doesn't
The
have
one
a
that
very
led to his son.
I'm not. He just has a very poor track record.
Maybe he bought a son on eBay.
And obviously has an IQ of very low, because if he did,
He has an IQ of very low.
he has a very low IQ. If he didn't read the freaking
Well, we're
ad,
not judging this man.
I didn't know that you knew him.
I'm not. I don't.
Then how do you know he made poor life decisions?
He didn't read the
Okay.
ad that says.
All right. Well, let's
they're selling
finish this now. I have one last question.
Okay.
So, Zach, what'd you do when you got it in the mail?
I sold it. He could have sold it. Just again, I mean, if people were dumb enough to, if he was.
Let's talk about Doctor Who.
Some British people.
Yeah, speaking of British people, all right, Doctor Who, I absolutely loved it. I saw it in theaters. It was amazing.
I mean, I give it a 10 out of 10. All the doctors seen together, and then finding out that the doctor becomes the curator, which was also super geek moment here, was also written about in the Amelia Williams book.
Huh.
When she disappeared and she wrote the book, and which was also read by Clara later. So it's all connected. You see there?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Henry.
I liked it. I mean, I wouldn't give it a full 10 out of 10 because there's never been a 10 out of 10 in my book. I'm one of those. I'm my middle school art teacher. She's like, I never give 100s out because even Da Vinci wouldn't get 100. And I was like, well. Anyway, she was, but I did like it considerably a lot. I loved the work. I really just love how we got to see, Smith and Tennant, and neither of them was one-upping each other or anything, and it worked really well on stage. And I liked Hunt's character too. I really thought, the old doctor, the war doctor,
Hurt's doctor.
Hurt,
Hurts,
not
yeah.
Hunt.
Yeah, I think I love how, like, at the end, it actually showed him transforming into Eccleston. I mean, you don't see Eccleston, but
Yeah, you see it a little bit.
you just see the eyes.
The,
That was digital
The
stuff.
point of the matter is, like, you got to know his character just in that episode, which says a lot, and I think that's really, really neat.
And I just want to say, we waited 7-8 years to finally figure out all that, what actually made the Doctor who he was at that moment. We finally figured out, had all our questions answered. Well, most of them. There's one or a few questions that need to be answered, which will probably be answered in the Christmas special. But the fact that we figured out what happened to Gallifrey, I mean, it might have changed because the whole timeline, but the fact that we learned the history of it, I thought it was great.
I intentionally don't get into Doctor Who because I like having spare time.
Beep, beep. I like that.
Get the fuck out.
Zach textbook. I like that you posted that picture of Peter Capaldi.
It's
With
Photoshop.
the
Is it Photoshop?
It's photoshopped with his head on the body.
Right, but is it fan made Photoshop?
Yes, it's fan made.
Somebody was throwing it around the Doctor Who website saying it was official. That's why I took it as it was.
It's not official. It looks, and if it is official, it was a very poorly done job. It isn't an actual picture of Capaldi with
Yeah.
whatever he's wearing.
But I mean,
I still have an issue.
I think the coolest part was that it was the camera angle was out of a grave.
Yeah.
Did you notice that?
Yeah.
And the fact that Clara was like they dressed her up to look like older.
Yeah.
Like next to Capaldi, which is something I definitely think that they should, even if that is fan made, something that they should strive to do. Since Capaldi is an older doctor, they should make her kind of like not look like a little girl.
Did you hear about?
Or maybe they should. I don't know.
Did you hear about the fan theory about Clara?
Which one?
Do you want to blow your guys' minds right now?
You always blow my mind.
Oh, thank
She's
you.
a doctor?
No, she's Sarah Jane Smith's mom.
James, you don't even know what you're talking
But his mind is blown. He's getting the bits and it's blowing his mind
Oh, yeah.
a little bit.
I mean, wouldn't it be interesting if she was like the doctor's daughter, also like the original doctor's daughter?
Well, that's what I thought too.
Sarah's
But what they're
mother.
saying is the fan theory is that his granddaughter and the I forget the guy she left with from the original series,
Mm-hmm.
had a boy, and that boy married a girl, and that girl will be Clara, and then she has a daughter named Sarah Jane Smith, and therefore completing Sarah Jane Smith's line.
That's really cool. Also,
Sarah Jane Smith's grandmother was the Doctor's granddaughter.
wow.
Yeah.
That's cool as hell.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And I also, I'm just curious to see where they're going here. I mean, Transalor's coming up. I mean, he's going to Transalor in the Christmas special, apparently. Silence Will Fall.
And I think, last thing I'll say about this that I thought was really interesting was, and I noticed this as I started watching more of the Tennant episodes over and over again. I love Tennant. He's my favorite Doctor, don't get me wrong. Having said that, he's very immature and kind of an asshole most of the time. He knows that Martha loves him. He's not dumb. He's over 900 years old. He knows. Mm-hmm. But he still plays with her feelings a bit because he knows he can get... I mean, they addressed this in a later episode that Davros says, you don't fire the gun. You get your buddies to do it for you. Oh, yeah. And I think... And that's the moment I think that the Doctor actually matures. He goes, you're right. The guy's an a-hole. But he goes, you're right. And I think that seeing actually Matt Smith with Tennant, you really do see how much, even though Matt Smith acts more like a child, in a weird way, how he's matured so much from the time he was Tennant. Actually.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
All right, so one last thing before we go. I thought it would be nice to actually have a little contest for those who actually listen to our podcast. And who... This is also another way to try to bring it in. And no, James, you cannot win this prize, even though you are not an official member yet. Dang it. But I am giving a free code for a digital copy of the Dark Knight Trilogy. I got with my Ultimate Collector's Edition, which I already have the digital copy, so I just felt like I just wanted to give it away. But we decided on a question, and we were going to randomly choose it when we start back up in January, January, February, and that
Season 2 coming soon.
Yes.
How well do you know Henry?
Henry's anatomy.
That's good. That's what the question's going to be.
Okay, our question actually goes with our pick of the week, and we would like an explanation as to why your answer. I mean, you don't have to go into detail about it, but tell us who your favorite comic book villain is. I mean, it can be if you're not a fan of comics.
Your favorite villain.
Your favorite villain. I mean, if you don't read the comics, how about if you see the movies?
And it has to be fictional. You can't choose Hitler.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah.
Unless it's Hitler as portrayed in
Captain America.
Captain America or something.
If you say Darth Vader, you have to explain why.
No, you can.
Just don't say he's the chosen one.
Right.
Or something.
Just to reiterate, name your favorite entertainment villain. May it be movie, comic book, even literature. Dare we speak its name?
What is this literature you speak?
Yeah.
But tell us your favorite, and then we'll randomly pick it, and you will win the Dark Knight Trilogy via the digital download.
And we'll even give you guys a shout out on our season premiere.
Yeah, and if you're... Well, and I won't say that.
Go ahead. Go say it.
No, if Henry's saying don't say it, don't say it.
Okay. So that's it. We'll be returning in January, late January, early February. It's been a ride this semester.
Yeah,
it's been
10 whole
completely
episodes.
awesome. Let's see if we can break that record next semester.
Yeah.
15.
Oh.
One each, all for 15 weeks.
I think the episodes are going to start then and the same if we do 15. It's going to be Walking Dead.
Yeah. All right. So, and it's nice to have another person here. We're going to have more guest speakers.
I'm going to kiss you. After we're done.
No.
Yeah.
He doesn't. James here's gay, but
Save me.
Yeah.
Nothing. It's okay to be
Somebody
gay.
cut
It's okay. All right. Well,
I'm not gay.
I'm Zachariah Zach Attack Swope.
I'm Henry Wagner.
I'm Adam.
And your guest, James the Ninja Ginger Cleary.
And this is Geek Talk.